Hey everybody, Art Burns here, wishing you well today. So, there's a lot going on in the world today, especially in America, right? Like, on the heels of months of quarantine, right now we are in a position where our cities are literally burning with the emotions that people are feeling, over what's happened with George Floyd and the brutality that we've seen and all that's going on, right? And the riots and the backlash of these actions of the police people who perpetrated what is really a crime, and they did it on for the world to see, right? They did it right in front of everyone. So this is a very, very difficult time that we're all dealing with, right? And no matter what your opinions are of what's happened, no matter where you sit on this spectrum of the experience, right? We are all deeply affected by it, right? Our emotions are all very, very high right now. Okay, and there's a lot of emotions going on, right? There's anger, there's grief, there's fear, there's you know shame, there's guilt, there's all kinds of emotions that are just boiling over right now, right? And so, normally, what I do here is I just talk about stress reduction in our everyday lives, right? And so, but our everyday lives all of a sudden are something much different. So I didn't want to be tone deaf about this. I didn't want to just come on here and just do my standard, next topic on the list thing. So I wanted to take this time and talk to you all who follow me and who listen to this podcast and who watch these videos. I wanted to just kind of be honest with you all, right? And to talk about, though, how the work that we talk about here can relate to what's happening in the world, right? Because again, there's so many emotions going on right now. And of course, one of the things that we really do cover here a lot is emotional intelligence. So the ability to allow ourselves the open and honest and non-judging awareness of the emotions that we're feeling right now is a very, very powerful thing. Right now, of course, stress is related to what we're talking about as well, right? In the broad spectrum of human emotions, right? Every single emotion you can possibly feel, right? They can all be boiled down to one of two different emotions. The roots of all of them are either fear or love, right? That's that's how it works, folks. The shame, the guilt, the anger, the frustration, the insecurity, the victimization, the all those feelings, right, can all be boiled down to the fear at their root, right? And of course, fear is the root of stress as well, right? But now, of course, everybody's feeling some level of this stress right now, and it's not a normal kind of stress, right? It's not the daily kind of thing about, okay, how are we going to pay our bills and stuff like that. We're talking about a different level at this point, so I don't want to talk about this in the context of just like, okay, let's calm ourselves down and get over the stress. No, I think right now we need to feel what we're feeling. I think it's really, really important to allow ourselves to process this thing that's happening to us, right? And so being aware of these emotions, right? Expanding and deepening our awareness, as we talk about all the times with these little practices that we do, is going to be very, very important now more than ever, right? To really understand your emotions with this. Understand the not only the effects of the emotions, but also the roots of these emotions, right? Understand, like, really try to bring awareness to what is making you feel the way you feel, right? Like, what implicit biases are you feeling? What programming from your early childhood and your life and the people around you, what is making you feel the way that you're feeling right now? Right, this is more important than ever. Now, this is always important, and it's always helpful with kind of processing and reducing the stress in our bodies, right? But now more than ever, these questions are vital, okay? Because we all have some kind of, now of course it's a spectrum, right? Now I'm not trying to equalize everybody, because obviously right now there's a huge racial divide, right? But if you're in the majority group of any society, right? In the U.S., that would mean a white person, right? You have certain biases that operate in the background, right? They are implicit. They guide your perception and your view of the world, right? And it's not just a matter of denying these, right? That's not possible, right? As much as we all want to think that we're open and we're okay with things, we colorblind and all this kind of stuff, it's just not real. It's not realistic to think that. If you're thinking that, then most likely you well, I don't want to accuse you, but I would ask you to question honestly if that is really true or if that's just what you're kind of making yourself believe. Okay, because research and science shows that the fact is that we all have biases, right? Racial bias is a very, very prominent one in this world, okay? That we all feel it, right? We all have this automatic feeling when we see a person of another color, especially when we're part of the majority group of a society. Okay, it's just the way it is, folks. I'm not stating my opinion. I'm not trying to tell you how to be. I'm not trying to judge you. I'm not trying to influence you in any kind of way. I guess maybe I'm trying to influence your behavior, not your behavior, but your understanding of this, right? But it's true. Okay, scientifically, it's true. We have these biases, and racial bias is one of them. So check in with yourself. Try to see where this is coming from, and allow yourself to be honest with yourself about it. Right? Allow yourself to feel it, and allow yourself to be vulnerable to the fact that maybe, this is real. And again, as we do that, right? As we examine ourselves and hold this awareness for ourselves, right? The next step is to do this for others, right? And this is one of the biggest things that can happen right now. One of the most beneficial things that can happen right now is for us to listen to one another, okay? And now I'm not talking about just white people listening to people of color, okay? That's not, that is absolutely necessary right now, right? And I'm not going to ever tell you don't do that, right? I think you should. And I think these are uncomfortable conversations that we need to have. And I think they're conversations that have to happen, right? But I'm also talking about white people listening to white people. I'm talking about getting, really, but listening to understand, not listening to express your opinion, not listening to say, yeah, but the people shouldn't be breaking windows, or yeah, but the cops need to create order. And likewise, I'm not talking about saying, yeah, they should be smashing windows, and yeah, the cops are way out of line. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about expressing yourself. I'm talking about listening to understand, okay? Active listening. This is something that we talk about a lot right here in this video series and in this podcast, right? And what we're talking about here is developing empathy, right? And only when we listen to understand can we develop empathy. So the people in your life who disagree with you, right? And I'm talking about, again, white people to white people who, the people who stand on the other side of this issue from you. Listen to them. Listen to them to really understand them. You don't have to agree with them. You don't have to accept what they're saying. You don't have to be okay with what they're saying. But instead of trying to convince them of something, first listen to them, right? Listen to understand, because most often, right, again, these biases, they run very, very deep, right? They run very, very long and very, very deep, okay? They're part of our programming, right? There's stuff that we learned when we were 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, right? And so in many cases, you could even say that it's not the person's fault for how they feel, right? And unless they have done the work that we're doing here with developing emotional intelligence and understanding their own emotions, then quite probably they are unaware of these biases, and they're unaware of how it influences what they're doing and what they're saying and what they're feeling and what they're thinking, right? So getting to know, and again, just listening to understand, right? Because once we listen to understand each other, that's when change can actually happen. Okay, because now you're accepting. It's the same way that we talk about ourselves, right? Like I talk about it all the time here. Unless you're willing to accept your situation, you're not going to be able to change it, right? Like that's just how it is. Like unless we can accept it. Now that doesn't mean accept it in the sense of surrender to it. It doesn't mean acquiescing. It doesn't mean saying, okay, well, I guess this is just how it is. Nothing I can do about it. No, it's the opposite of that. Once we can accept something, then we have the power over it to change it, right? And so the same thing goes with other people, right? Only when you can accept someone's point of view, not accept it in terms of believe it or surrender to it again, but accept that that's how they feel. And now try to get to understand why it is that they feel that. And once you understand that, now you can have conversations in which things can actually change, right? Now you can actually, and the way this works, right, is that again, the people who are on, even the people who are on the side of feeling the police are right in these situations, right? They feel that way because of a basic level of fear that they're feeling, right? Whether it's justified or not justified, or realistic or not realistic, that's a little bit besides the point right at this moment. The fact is that they are feeling that fear. And if you can connect with that feeling, and I'm talking about the people in your family, I'm talking about the people in your community, I'm talking about the people who you deal with every day, right? If you can connect to that fear and connect with it, to say to them, to make them feel that you understand them, you feel them, right? And then you can allow that feeling to then, you can allow that empathy to lead into compassion and forgiveness, right? And only at that point are we going to get to a point where we can talk to each other in a way that's going to actually change things, right? Again, this has nothing to do with condoning actions. This has nothing to do with accepting behavior that is not okay, right? I mean, that's not what we're talking about. We're just talking about understanding, because only when we understand something first can we then make any kind of change, right? If you're just going to be throwing your ideas at somebody, they're going to be throwing their ideas at you, nothing's ever going to change. You're just going to keep hitting each other like this, right? So be the person that's soft. Be the person who absorbs what the other person says. Again, please, 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 I want to be very, very clear. It's not about accepting. It's not about, or not about condoning. It's not about, agreeing with them. It's not about saying, okay, yeah, you're right. The police are okay to do this thing that I disagree with, right? It's not about that. It's about understanding. All right. So listen, I'm really feeling very vulnerable with this video. I feel like I'm out of my depth in this, and I don't want to be like kind of opining here about this situation. All I'm doing is relating it back to the work that we do. So the key is active listening, and there's a very, very simple practice that we can do to actively listen to each other. Okay, and I would be happy to teach you how to do that. It just take a few minutes. I could send you something in writing that will help you to get started. So if you would like to learn this, just send me a message. Okay, drop a comment, send me a direct message, reply to this email, whatever. Okay, art@artburnscoaching is my email address. In case you don't see it anywhere, please get in touch with me. Let me show you this very, very simple practice that allows us to develop a habit of active listening, which leads to empathy, which leads to compassion, which leads to change. All right, folks, thanks for listening. I wish you well, and please, please be forgiving of yourself. Be compassionate to yourself right now. We all need it very, very much. Take care, everybody. I wish you well.